Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare, Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat
Okay,
Pranam.
good morning to all of you. So you're all doing good? As your morning started nicely?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhu, we
Prabhu.
got up 15 minutes early.
Okay, very nice. So today, sharp 7 o'clock, we'll stop the class because 7:15, I have a class on Nityam Bhagavata Sevya. All of you are free to attend that. So today in 7:15, we'll be talking about realizations through Jada Bharat, right from Canto 5. Okay, so now let's begin continuation where Krishna is departing Hastinapur and going towards Dwarka. Okay. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadadi Swapadandikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarine Nama Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanyaya Namne Gauratushe Namaha Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanaya Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gauravakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Get me some hot water, no? Okay, so welcome. Let's begin. So sloka number 10.20.
No, Prabhu, 14. We are in 14 only. We finished up to 13, Prabhu, last time.
13, huh? Okay. Okay. So we saw, okay. So now what is the scene now? We see many people, especially women for that matter, right? Many people who are coming out in large numbers. One set is all the relatives who live within the palace of Krishna. They come out and then they cry. They're in tears. They're showing their grief of separation. Then you see the Vasis of Hastinapur. They're all climbing on top of their respective houses. And then they're showing their love for Krishna. They're unable to tolerate the separation. And there are many women and relatives who are the wives of these Kshatriyas who died in the battlefield. So they are remembering Krishna, right? So we saw that speaking of Krishna, thinking of Krishna, remembering Krishna are all aspects of devotion. So you see different kinds of people onto their capacities. Some of them maybe could be a little bit distant, still they remember Krishna. The Lord is so attractive, they are able to remember the Lord at the time of departure. Right? So 10.14. Ya Yurudandan Udgalad Bashpam Autkantya Devaki Sute Nedyati Agarano Abhadram Itisyad Bandavastriyaha. Translation. The female relatives, whose eyes are flooded with tears of anxiety for Krishna, came out of the palace. They could stop their tears only with great difficulty. They feared that tears would cause misfortune at the time of departure. So there is a saying that, if someone is traveling, even it could happen in today's life. Let's say our children are traveling abroad for a long duration of time, whatever it may be. The tendency is for us to feel the separation. And then we cry. So it's not a good sign to cry before a person departing. So here they didn't want to externally show their tears that Krishna is leaving to his native place. What is his native place? Mathura. Sorry, Dwarka. So that's where his father and mother are living, right? So they didn't want to externally show that. And they were trying to hide that, but they could not. The tears just tormented out of their eyes. They were just outpouring because they could not tolerate the separation of the Lord. Hmm? So why? Prabhupada writes, look at this. Look at this part of the paragraph. He says, therefore, directly or indirectly, anyone who thinks of Krishna, talks of Krishna, worship Krishna, becomes attached to him. So this is important. This is the perfect of devotion. So devotion, the key of Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam are very, very important. If you are able to perform direct devotion to the Archa Vigraha, yes, that is one form of devotion. But people who talk about Krishna, they talk about Krishna Katha, the glories of the Lord, is another aspect of devotion. Even people who remember Krishna is also another aspect of devotion. So in Bhagavatam, we saw many, many situations, especially in 10th canto, you will see, right? In 10th canto, you will see all these three things happen simultaneously. The Gopakumaras, they went with Krishna to the forest, so they were with Krishna. They were serving him directly, they were giving him pleasure, and they were taking shelter of him. So direct service to the Lord. So the Gopakumaras, they performed devotion. The Gopis, they were always remembering Krishna. They were thinking, when will the Lord come? What will he be doing? What activities he'll perform? What will he eat? So like that, they were thinking. And even a small sound, they were wondering if Krishna has come back. They watch for that sound of the flute. And in the evening, exactly during dusk time, that is when Krishna would return back with Balaram. And all the gopis would stand in their houses and then they would see through from a distance. Oh, is Krishna come? Has Krishna come? The sun is about to set. Why is he not come? So much of remembrance. Now, what about the elderly gopis and the elderly Gopakumaras? They were doing in the land of Vrindavan. They were talking about Krishna's pastime. While Krishna was away to the forest, they would used to discuss about Krishna's pastime and what all activities he did, and they spent their life. You see, devotion was exhibited by all in different forms. And all are perfect, and Krishna accepts all of them. That's what Prabhupada says. By doing this, they became very, very attached to Krishna, and that is what we need to do. Because Krishna is absolute, there's no difference between his name, form, and qualities. Nama, Rupa, Guna, and his Leela. There's no difference. Whatever association, shelter you take, it is called perfect. Okay? Now Prabhupada says, our intimate relation with Krishna can be confidentially revived. Okay? So that means what? What is revival? Revival means something that is already existing, that is being forgotten or being not used, and again put to use. That's called revival. Right? So here, what has happened? If you go back to creation, who were we? We were originally part and parcel of Krishna. Right? Living along with him in Vrindavan. And for some reason, we'll not go into that detail. For some reason, we took shelter of Maya Shakti and we came down here. Time immemorial. And Maya Shakti means what? Nescience, forgetfulness of Krishna. So we got forgetfulness of Krishna and we came into this world. And for many births, birth after birth after birth, we have forgotten Krishna. So now, great Acharyas, Srimad Bhagavatam is reviving that consciousness back. Hey, you Jada, you've forgotten the whole relationship with you and the Lord. Oh, I'm going to revive you. Come on. How do you revive? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. By talking of Krishna, by hearing of Krishna, by remembering Krishna. So, the spiritual potency, the soul is a spiritual entity. The spiritual potency is revived, and that way we connect back to the Lord. Okay? So, let's go to the next sloka. 10.15. Mridanga Sanka Beryascha Veena Panava Gomukaha Dunduri Anaka Gantadya Nedu Dundubayas Tataha. Translation. While the Lord was departing from the palace of Hastinapur, different types of drums like the mridanga, dola, nagara, dunduri, dundubi, and flutes of different types of veena, gomukha and beri all sounded together to show him honor. So this is a great honor. So you see, this honor is done twice. One, when a great person arrives at your place, they'll honor by making all such sounds and things like that. Right? It's a mark of respect, it's a mark of celebration, and a mark of happiness. Right? So they receive. And same way, they also do this while a person is departing to another place. Right? And this is an old custom. And even today, also many places this is followed. Excuse me. So that's what they was doing in Hastinapur. Okay, 10.16. Prashada Shikararudaha Kurunaryo Didikshaya Vavrushuhu Kushumai Krishnam Prema Vrida Smitekshanaha. Translation. Out of a loving desire to see the Lord, the royal ladies of the Kuru got up on top of the palace, smiling with affection and shyness. They showered flowers upon the Lord. Right? So showering when the Lord is moving away in his chariot, when he's going through the streets of Hastinapur or the palace roads or whatever. It's a custom. See, even those days they used to throw these flowers from the top in honor, right? And that's what they did. Prabhupada talks about that this Mohammedan culture talks about separation of ladies and men. So it is not true. Prabhupada says even in Mahabharata time, that is much before the Mohammedan culture even existed, the ladies had a separate, place to stand and perform their devotion. And the men used to have a separate place and perform this devotion. So Prabhupada is making a mention out of all these things in his purports. Right? So these ladies, they demonstrated their love. So you see, it is not just one or two people. Everyone in the palace, everyone in the city, they're showing their love for Krishna. Right? Love for Krishna is a natural beauty that exists in each one of us. But because of constant association with material activities, that love for Krishna is not manifesting. Just like a light bulb. You see a light bulb which is put in a kitchen, over a period of time, because the smoke and the dust that manifest out of the cooking aspect, they sit on the bulb. And you see, a 100 watts bulb will glow like a 20 watts bulb or a 10 watts bulb over a period of time. Why? Because the dust. Is a problem of the bulb? No, it's not a problem of the bulb. It's a problem of the dust. So here, dust is nothing but ignorance or anarthas that we have, or forgetfulness of Krishna, or attachment to material illusion. So this is the dust. So once this dust is removed, once the dust of spiritual enhancement or spiritual advancement is removed, then you see there's clear vision. The bulb glows at 100 watts. There's clear vision to see the Lord, to experience the Lord, to share one's relationship with the Lord. And that's what is the key aspect. Okay. So Prabhupada talks about we generally get attracted to material things, right? If you look at any of these material things, they're dead inert matter. There is nothing beyond it, but we have more life to them than having loving aspects with living things, right? So an example Prabhupada talks about is, talks about a beautiful lady, right? The lady is the same matter, right? Bhumi, Rapo, Nala, Vayu. It's the same 5 elements, just covered by a beautiful skin. If you peel off the skin, all the beauty is gone. So he says just that skin, and it's making the lady to be attractive. Now, even that lady which is attractive because of presence of that soul, the life force. Once that life force goes out of the body of the lady, then you see the lady is no more attractive. Immediately, the body parts, the skin, everything starts to decompose, and then no one wants to even go near it. No one wants to even touch it, right? But once that life force goes into the body of that lady, she becomes active, she's beautiful, she's attractive, she speaks nicely. So the beauty is not the body, the beauty is the spiritual soul. That's what you have to understand. So the spirit soul is the beauty. Why are we falling in for the beauty of that lady? It's because of illusion, right? The trigunas, they cause that illusion by making us to think wrong as true and true as wrong. The spirit soul is the real beauty, but we fall in for the false beauty of the skin and the matter. So that's what you have to understand. So if spirit soul is the beauty, love the soul, not the body, right? And love the relationship of the soul to the Supreme Lord and not the other dimensions. And that's the key that you have to understand, right? So that's what Prabhupada says. So if you see a good soul, right, who's demonstrating loving devotion service to the Lord, and when he demonstrates his loving service to the Lord, all the 27 Brahminical qualities, the good qualities, manifest in that soul. That means whatever was covered. We talked about the example of the bulb, right, which has got covered. So now the soul's desire to enjoy independently the material nature is gone. And now the soul is trying to demonstrate its yoga, the connection with the Supreme. Right? So then you see the soul demonstrates all the good qualities. The soul is fully knowledgeable and demonstrates all good qualities. That soul becomes attractive. So the more we perform, the more we connect to the Lord, the more we derive those good qualities. The lesser we connect to the Lord, then we covered with nescience. That means we are going to demonstrate more anarthas. We're going to demonstrate more, qualities of lust and anger and, all sorts of material qualities. So a spiritually advanced person can be easily understood, and not by his knowledge, by his lifestyle, by how he role models, how he lives his life, right? What does he speak? How does he deal with people? And that's how you'll understand, right? You can see great realized souls like that, right? So the beauty is the real soul and not the body. So what is the soul? The soul is part and parcel of Krishna, right? So Krishna becomes the source. So hence Prabhupada says, this is knowledge. Once this knowledge is attained by a living entity, then his action changes. His love for Godhead, which is dormant, gets invigorated, right? So that's the key aspect Prabhupada is talking. Yeah. So shall we go to next sloka? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
10.17. Sita tapatram jagaraga muktadama vibhushitam ratnadandam gudakeshaha priya priyatamasyaha. Translation. At that time, Arjuna, the great warrior and conqueror of sleep, he's called Gudakesha. He's called Gudakesha because conqueror of sleep, who's the intimate friend of the most beloved Supreme, took up an umbrella, which had a handle of jewels and was embroidered with lace and pearls. Right? Now, the point of why Prabhupada is stressing about, he's not stressing about the service of Arjuna to Krishna. He's talking about material elements like pearls and gems and all this precious was naturally available. It was given by nature. It is not that we invented it. Okay, we just found it was in nature. We took it, we cut it into shape, gave some beauty to it, and then wore as jewels. That's all we did. We did not create them. It was created by the nature. Now, you see, there are different elements nature gives, right? There are lower forms of elements, which are insignificant and which are, pungent in smell, dirty in their forms, or not good in their health, and many aspects of it. And there are higher forms, right? These gems and jewels. So, depending on what our love is to the Lord, we will offer the best to the Lord, right? So, Arjuna, he made an umbrella which is made of all these precious elements, and then he used that in service of the Lord. And that's the key, right? Now, here you see, Prabhupada saying that in this material life, that we waste our time in making a lot of these unwanted things, just as called as economic development and industrial development, right? So He says those days people ate with jeweled plates, golden plates, and things like that. Now today, he uses the word, you see here, he uses the word gutta precha. Gutta precha is nothing but
Plastic.
huh?
A type of plastic, Prabhu, we use in the root canal treatment.
Okay.
Gattapacha.
Yeah. So this one is actually comes as a latex from the tree. Okay. It is a combination of fossil fuel and a combination of latex from trees, just like how rubber is come, right? So they say, okay, they use materials out of this instead of gold and silver, and then they consume food out of it or use it for whatever purpose. So you see, so Prabhupada says how life has come down from the previous ages to current ages. Right? And he's also giving example of margarine instead of using purified butter. Purified butter is ghee. So we use margarine instead of ghee, and margarine is very dangerous to health. And it is proved that it produces trans fat and triglycerides, but we still use that. So he says, you see, how we are degrading in the form of economic development and industrialization. And what is the quality of life in the previous ages? Okay. 10.18. Uddhava Shatyakischaiva Vyajane Paraman Bhute Vikriyamanaha Kushumai Raje Madhu Patihi Pati. Translation. Uddhava and Satyaki. Satyaki is the chariot driver, and Uddhava is a dear friend of Krishna. Is also cousin. Uddhava and Satyaki began to fan the Lord with decorated fans. The Lord, the master of Madhu, Madhusudana, killer of Madhu demon, seated on scattered flowers. All the seats were filled with flowers. Its chariot was thrown with flowers. Everywhere there's flowers, right? And commanded them along the road. So he took Krishna along the road, right? So this part of the chapter explains how Krishna left Hastinapur towards Dwaraka. Okay, 10.19. Ashriyanta Shisha Satyas Tatra Tatra Dvijeritaha Nanurupascha Nirgunasya Gunatmanaha. Translation. It was being heard here and there that the benedictions being paid to Krishna were neither befitting nor unbefitting because they were all for the Absolute, who was now playing the part of the human being. Okay. This purport is very interesting, actually. So I want someone to read this purport, this entire purport. Someone come forward.
Hare Krishna.
Hmm.
At places there were sounds of Vedic benediction aiming at the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. The benedictions were fitting in the sense that the Lord was playing the part of a human being as if a cousin of Maharaja Yudhishthira, but they were also unfitting because the Lord is absolute and has nothing to do with any kind of material relativities. He is nirguna, or there are no material qualities in him, but he is full of transcendental qualities. In the transcendental world, there is nothing contradictory, whereas in the relative world, everything has its opposite. In the relative world, white is the opposite conception of black. But in the transcendental world, there is no distinction between white and black. Therefore, the sounds of benedictions uttered by the learned Brahmanas here and there appear to be contradictory in relation with the absolute person. But when they are applied to the absolute person, they lose all contradiction and become transcendental. One example may clear this idea. Lord Sri Krishna is sometimes described as a thief. He is very famous amongst his pure devotees as the Makan Chora. He used to steal butter from the houses of neighbors at Vrindavana in his early age. Since then, he is famous as a thief. But in spite of his being famous as a thief, he is worshipped as a thief. Whereas in the mundane world, a thief is punished and is never praised. Since he is the absolute personality of Godhead, everything is applicable to him. And still, in spite of all contradictions, he is the supreme personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Hari, very brilliant. This purport very clearly explains us the paradoxes that exist in the material world. Okay, paradoxes are or opposites, which cause differential ideas and thoughts, right? So now, if you look at how Prabhupada is explaining about the Supreme Lord, when you say absolute, there's no question of contradictions. That's the whole point here, right? There's no question of contradictions, and there's no question of relative references to this. Okay. So now, when we say Krishna is absolute truth, whatever he does is truthful in nature, right? Now, for example, let's assume that Krishna told a lie. Okay. Now, all the events and all the situations around us in nature, they change in order to prove the Lord is true. Why? Because Lord is absolute truth, right? You see, that is the qualitativeness of the absolute truth. So he gives many examples. He gives the great example as a thief, right? So look at Prabhupada's example. He talks about thief. Thief means today when we say someone is a chore, we don't want to associate with him. We blaspheme him, and the government also punishes him, puts him in jail. All those things will happen, right? Now, but you look at the thief that been awarded to the title to Krishna called Chora, Makan Chora. But he is a celebrity. He's celebrated for his activities of stealing, right? So this is called absolute nature, right? Now, devotees who connect to this absolute, they also attain this nature. That's the point you have to understand. And hence, a transcendentalist, we cannot understand what is their activity, what is their consciousness, what they do, what they speak. We cannot understand. Why? Because their consciousness is in the plane which is at par with the transcendental plane. But whereas our consciousness is all about paradoxes, fine differences, right? So an example I would give you, sometimes we would find great Vaishnavas or sannyasis, oh, you know what they're doing is wrong. How can they speak like this? How can they do like that? How is this is correct? We think like that, we even make comments like that, which is wrong. Why? Because their consciousness in the transcendental plane, but while our consciousness in the material plane. And hence, we tend to see the differences, but they don't see the differences. And that's what you have to understand. So, when the dimensions of consciousness is in the higher plane, they would take decisions accordingly, which we may not understand. And hence, we become offensive in nature, right? So, it is important to understand the qualities of the Lord, the qualities of the pastimes of the Lord. Now, we generally get attracted. For example, I'll take the Putana pastime. We get attracted to Putana pastime. Yeah, it is good to hear the Putana pastime. There's two ways that you can hear Putana pastime. One, to hear in a mundane manner as a story format. Yes, that Rakshashi came, she changed her form and tried to kill Krishna by giving her breast milk, etc. These are sequence of events, right? You can enjoy it as a story format. Yeah, good. But advanced devotees, they see the plan of the Lord behind such actions. What is it that the Lord is trying to achieve? What is it that the Lord is teaching the living entities? Why did Lord choose Arjuna to give the Bhagavad Gita? And in the Bhagavad Gita, why did Lord tell Arjuna, Sarvadharman Parityajya in the first sloka? No. Why did Krishna told Arjuna that as the last sloka? A last sloka means almost the extreme sloka. So it is very important. And when they understand this, the transcendentalists, they understand the plan of the Lord. And that is devotion, right? So this is what is the progressive nature that we should practice devotion. Reading the book of Srimad Bhagavatam, yes, this sloka and this one-to-one meaning over. That is one method. But reading to realize why the author is saying that, why Lord Krishna is performing that act, is the key to success. And that is bhakti. That's what Prabhupada is trying to explain to you. Right? Okay. So let's go to next sloka, 10.20. Anyonyam ashish sanjalpa uttama sloka chetasam kauravendra purastrinam sarvastruti manoharaha. So now you see, we will go into sections about what were all the people talking about when Krishna was departing. What was their state of consciousness? When we understand this, then we'll understand the association of pure devotees, association of sadhus, how does it benefit us? See, today, when we come to temple, we read all the Srimad Bhagavatam, but when we come to temple, we still discuss Prajalpa. We still talk material topics, right? We should now enhance ourselves, promote ourselves to talk spiritual topics when we come to temple, when we associate. See, I took word as a temple because that's a place where we all associate a lot, right? So when we devotees associate, what should be our topic of discussion? In today's world, we spend a lot of time in fault finding. This is wrong, that is right. Right? We are sitting as a judge and trying to tell that this person is wrong, that person is right. Who has given us the position of judge? No one has given us the position. We have assumed the position. So rather than doing these things, what should we talk? That is what you will understand in this set of slokas. From slogan for the next 10 slokas, you'll understand. Okay. Translation. Absorbed in the thought of transcendental qualities of the Lord, who sung in select poetry, the ladies on the roof of all the houses of Hastinapur began to talk of him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. Okay. Krishna said, Vedaishcha sarvais ahameva vedyam. The Vedas are 64 subject knowledge. It has got the Karmakanda sections which talk about all the material elements, interactions, and things like that. It talks about sections of rules and regulations that one should practice. It talks about sections where one should perform this yajna, that yajna, this prashchita, all these things. But Vedas is also Krishna, because Krishna says, Ahameva Vedyam. Right? So, Krishna says, Ahameva Vedyam, that means there are sections of Vedas which will give us love for God, devotion service. Right? So, now the talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas means what they're referring to. The Krishna Katha is so attractive that it even surpasses all the instructions and details that are given in the Vedas. So that means the pastimes of the Lord, the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela is supreme, is higher in position even than the Vedas. That's what you have to understand. Okay, so let's look at the purport of some of the key things. Can someone read this highlight? I'll just highlight.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Please read this highlight.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in all the Vedic literatures, the goal is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Factually, the glories of the Lord are depicted in such literature as the Vedas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. And in the Bhagavatam, they are specifically mentioned in respect of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, while the ladies on the tops of the houses in the capital of the kings of Kuru dynasty were talking about the Lord, their talk was more pleasing than the Vedic hymns. The ladies, who were all absorbed in the thought of and actions of the Lord, developed the consciousness of Vedic wisdom by the grace of the Lord. And therefore, although such ladies might not have been very learned scholars in Sanskrit or otherwise, still whatever they spoke was more attractive than the Vedic hymns. The Vedic hymns in the Upanishads are sometimes indirectly directed to the Supreme Lord, but the talks of the ladies were directly spoken of the Lord, and thus they were more pleasing to the heart. The ladies' talks appear to be more valuable than the learned Brahmanas' benedictions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You see, topics of discussions of the Lord is much more attractive than anything else. We know that Vedas are supreme, but Krishna Katha is more attractive than the Vedas. So you see the power of the pastimes of the Lord, the power of the holy name of the Lord. Very, very, very attractive. And that's what we have to take shelter of. Right? Okay. Text 21. Savaikilayam Purusha Puratana Ya Eka Ashit Avesha Atmani Agre Gunebhyo Jagat Atmanishware Nimilitatman Nishi Supta Shaktishu. So this sloka Radharani Mataji, 10.20 is an important sloka to mug up, so you get into the document. Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu, 10.20.
Yeah, okay. Okay, translation. They said, here he is, the original personality of Godhead. As we definitely remember, he alone existed before the manifested creation of modes of nature, and him only, because he is the Supreme Lord. All living beings merge, as if sleeping at night, their energy is suspended. Okay, so now here it is about, some of the discussions that they're talking about, which glorifies about the Lord, how he created, what was his activities, and then they discussed about his jivas, all these things. So that's what this purport's about. Now you can read this purport. We've discussed this many times, so I'll just make it very simple, right? Now, what Lord created? Lord created this material energy in order to satisfy the living entities' desire to enjoy independent of Krishna. Okay, so he created this material world. This material world, yesterday also in by Chaitanya Charitamrita class we talked about, there are many, many universes. Each universe has a sun, which is called as a solar system, and that's what you see in the sky as a twinkling star. So it means many, many solar systems are there, right? We already read about this in our science, the birth of a star and death of a star. So this is nothing but creation, life of Brahmaji, and death of Brahmaji. Now, very beautiful, if you look at it, this life of the solar system is estimated as 4 billion years, okay, as of date. And they're estimating another 4 billion years is pending by the time this star would die. This is as per the calculation of science. Now, let's go back to Veda Shastra. What does it say? Now, currently, Brahmaji is exactly in the midway. He's in the afternoon, right? So that means half more days there. After half more days, this mini pralaya will happen. Again, he'll remanifest. So it matches with what science is predicting. Okay, this is the beauty, right? So Krishna created Brahmaji, and Brahmaji has 100 years to live. And in a day of Brahmaji, which is called one kalpa, Brahmaji does 1000 chaturvyuhas. That means one day of Brahmaji is divided into time periods. Just like in a day, we have 24 hours. We have one day is divided by 24 hours. Each hour is divided by 60 minutes. Each minute is 60 by 60 seconds. We also have time division. Like the Brahmaji also has time division. So Brahmaji's day, if you say how long one day of Brahmaji is equivalent to one kalpa. What's the calculation of one kalpa? Is nothing but 4 chaturvihas, right? So there are 4 chaturviha, Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satyuga. In these 4 chaturvyuhas time period, if you calculate the total time, it will approximately come to 43 lakh years. Okay. This is like this 1000 cycles is one day of Brahmaji, right? So Krishna is giving explanation. I mean, the author is giving explanation that how he has Mahavishnu, how he has Garbhodaksha Vishnu, how is Paramatma, the Shirodaksha Vishnu, how he enters, he plays a role, and does all this cosmic manifestation. Okay, why does he do cosmic manifestation? It's very simple. He is trying to give every Jivatma a living chance. See, if there is no Kala Chakra, if there is no rotation, people who have fallen down into animal planet, they cannot become human beings. So this is an opportunity. They can evolve into human beings, and only in the human form, they are awarded the 6th consciousness, the 6th sense, to realize what is God and develop love for Godhead. When they develop love for Godhead, they go back home, back to Godhead. If they don't develop love for Godhead, they again go back into the animal species, and then they go into this entire circle of birth, death, old age, and disease for many, many times. And Krishna makes him to realize love for Godhead. That's the whole process, right? And that's what has been explained here in more detail. So you can take time to read, and you can understand the Brahmaji's night and day, and the purpose of creation, the purpose of human birth. So what's the only purpose of human birth? Is to realize our Creator and show our loving devotional service to that Creator and go back to the spiritual world to continue to perform our services. And that's our goal. If we do other things than this, then we are violating the whole purpose of human life. Now you one may ask a question, Prabhuji, what is this you're telling? Or then how do I take care of my family? How do I take care of myself to maintain this material body? Yeah, so now this is where we have to understand Krishna's instructions in Bhagavad Gita. He says, under any conditions of life, whether you're performing a material activity or ordinary activity or highly spiritual activity, your remembrance of Krishna must be untarted, untarnished. It should be continuous. If your remembrance is continuous, then what will you do? Whatever activity you do, maybe you're going to a job, you're doing a business, or you're speaking to someone, or what it may be, you will remember Krishna. You will see Krishna's hands in any of those things. That way you will spiritualize your consciousness. So you continue your material life, but remembrance of Krishna must be parallelly in your heart at all points in time. Right? So that way you will understand the purpose of creation, purpose of my existence, and goal of my life. Right? Otherwise, we are without aim, or my aim is only to earn money, our aim is to only control things, our aim is only power, and all sorts of nonsensical things. Right? You can see that in the material world. Okay, let's go to 10.22. Saveva bhuyo nijavirya choditam swajivamayam prakritim shishrikshatim anamarupatmani rupanamani vidit samano anushashara shastrakrit. Translation. The person of Godhead, again desiring to give name and forms to his part and parcel, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. Okay? So now in this aspect, Prabhupada's writing in his purport, he's just simply saying that Krishna creates this activity called material nature. Material nature is represented by three gunas: tamas, rajas, sattvic. Now, through these three gunas, Krishna is enacting the entire activity of this world, right from creation, existence, and destruction. So that's what you have to understand. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sharvasha. All the activities in this Prakriti are created, run by these three gunas, which is a lower forms of energy of the Lord. So under the direction of the Lord, these three gunas work. And the cause of all the activities in this place. Three gunas are represented in a rupa form as Parvati, wife of Lord Shiva, consort of Lord Shiva. If you give a form to that energy, it is wife of Lord Shiva. That's why Shiva's wife, she's always carrying Trishul. If you see her, she's carrying Trishul. Trishul represents Trigunas, right? Now, let me give you a simple example. Now, let's say someone is coming to your house. Now, you see, how do you welcome them? You welcome them by properly, maybe you'll garland them or you'll give some flowers or with now some sweet words. You'll welcome them and you'll offer some nice things, right? This is what Radharani does. If you look at Srimati Radharani, who's standing on the altar, you see, one hand, she's offering a garland to Krishna. That is nothing but our devotion to Krishna she's offering. On the other hand, what does Radharani holds? She holds a bouquet, right? With that bouquet, she's inviting, please come. Please come to this transcendental plane. Don't stay in the middle plane. Now, on the other hand, you see, Durga Devi or any forms of Parvati or Lord Shiva. You see, they're with Trishul. They're saying, don't come here. Imagine someone comes to your home, you're showing him a Trishul and say, come. Will you enter that house? You won't enter the house. So she's showing that Trishul in this material world, don't be here. Get out of this place. But we don't want to go out. We still want to stay here. So this is the point to understand here, right? She pokes with the Trishul, which is nothing but influencing the three modes of gunas onto us. And when the delusion energy is applied onto us, we go into full illusion. We talk about paradoxes, we talk about fault finding, we talked about all differential aspects in this material energy. Right? And that's what Prabhupada is explained in this entire purport. You can talk through it. Now, what has happened? You've taken shelter of it. The living entity has taken shelter of this Triguna, and hence it does not know how to come out of it. Right? Now, originally, Krishna says that the living entities are part of my superior energy. Who? The jivas. Aparayam itastvanyam. So he says they are part of my higher energy, but they're entrapped into this Maya because they are thinking they're part of Maya. Proof of that is simple. An elephant can break big logs of wood, it can break trees, it can even break houses like that with its trunk. So powerful it is. If you see an elephant, it can carry like 4 or 5 tons of logs of wood, even 10 tons of log of wood just with its trunk. That powerful is elephant. But when that elephant is tied with a small chain to the tree, it thinks that it can't escape. It just stays there. Right? You see, this Maya energy, even though it's weaker than us, is controlling us because we are taking her shelter. We are thinking she is supreme. Now, what we should realize? We should realize that I can go above these 3 modes of nature by performing devotion service. And that's the key that Prabhupada is trying to explain. Another example you can take is a ship on an anchor. A ship weighs 10,000 tons. A big ship, so big, so powerful. And when the motor starts to run, it can move the 10,000 tons of ship at greater speed, like 60 knots, 80 knots, like that. But when that ship, when you throw the anchor of the ship, if you see the size of the anchor will be 100 the size of the ship. That's how small it is. Once that anchor is thrown into the water, when it lands into the sea, you see that will control the ship. It can't allow the ship to move. So, even though Maya Shakti is insignificant, we get influenced by it because we think we are part of Maya Shakti. So we are actually not part of Maya Shakti, we are part of the supreme energy, Krishna. And by taking shelter of Krishna, we can overcome her. And that's what Prabhupada is trying to. As far as we don't come and do this process of devotion, we are part of Maya Shakti, the Trigunas. That means we should go through, the Trigunas do 3 things. What do? They create, they maintain, they destroy. Srishti, maintain, annihilate. Right? So, you see, we also will fall into that cycle. We will be born, live for some period of time, we'll die. Again, we'll be born, live for some period of time, and die. And while this cycle is going on, in every birth, you see, you take your current birth, how much of suffering you're going through, how much of difficulties you're going through. So, birth, death, old age is not easy. It's very difficult. You talk about death, people, just hearing death and death's aspect, people die. So, what does the material energy influence? It influences fear. It instills fear in our heart. Because of that fear, we are not able to perform many things. For everything, we have fear in our heart. Right? You can see for yourself how much of fear you have. Right? And that's what Maya Shakti does. But when you go to Krishna, he says, Masachaha. When he says Masachaha, he says, don't fear. I am there. I'm giving you shelter. If you take my shelter, he says Masachaha, that means there's no energy in this entire creation that can come and harm you. That is the power of Krishna's energy. Right? So devotees who practice devotion, they go beyond this fear. They become fearless. And that's the aspect that you have to understand. Okay? Okay, now let's go to the next sloka, 10.23. Savayam yat padam atra surayo jitendriya nirjita matarishvanaha pashyanti bhakti utkalita malatmana nanvesha sattvam parimarshitum arhati. Translation. Here is the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose transcendental form is experienced by great devotees who are completely cleansed of material consciousness by dint of rigid devotion service and full control of life and the senses. That is the only way to purify our existence. So the key word you look at here is, this is the key word. Okay. It says rigid devotion service. What is rigid devotion? What does rigid means? Rigid means there's no question of excuse. There's no question of, deviation. Firm. That's what rigidity means. So if any devotee is very firm, rigid, no deviation, which is called also as Nishta Bhakti, when he practices in that platform, then you see he is in full control of his life. His life is very much predictable. There will be sadness and happiness in everyone's life. There will be easy situations and tough situations in one's life, all because of karmic reactions. But because they're practicing Krishna Bhakti, they'll be in full control of their lives. There's no question of, they're losing control and they are getting into any other aspects of it, unless one's consciousness is something else. So when one's in full control of life, all their senses will not be controlled by the mind. The mind will become subservient of the intelligence, and this intelligence is no more polluted. This intelligence is completely aware of devotional practice to the Lord, and the mind will align to it. This is the beauty. Devotional practices purify two things. First, it removes the false ego in us. It makes us to understand, okay, what I think about myself is false ego. I better migrate to true ego. True ego is what? Oh, I am a servant of Supreme Lord. Okay. The second, it removes the pollution in the intelligence. That means it removes anarthas in the intelligence. The intelligence is very powerful. It can control the mind, and mind can control all the senses in your body. All right. So what is now, from a polluted intelligence, my intelligence is clarified, purified. All nescience gone. Then what does I think? I understand my position with respect to other living entities. I understand my position with respect to the Lord. I know my duties as to why should I perform devotion. And that is intelligence. When my intelligence is strong, I direct my mind. Mind will not go here and there. Today the mind is running after desires of every living entities. Mind has the tendency to go to any limit to achieve those desires, and that's when we commit crime. So no more, the mind is now a subservient of the intelligence. This intelligence is realized intelligence. When mind is subservient, all the senses, your ear, eyes, nose, skin, rectum, genitals, all are controlled, including the tongue. You will always want Krishna Prasad. You always want to hear Lord Krishna's pastime. You don't want to do illegal activities. All becomes perfect. This is the control of senses. And when does this achieve? When there is rigid devotion service practice. And when we do that, what happens is purifies our existence. Our purified existence, it purifies the time of departure and the way we depart this world and go back home, back to Godhead. That's what is important. Right? In the past, if you look at it, Prabhupada gives examples of various yogis who tried to perfect this. Right? They're trying to perfect the senses using yogic postures like Ashtanga Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, whatever it may be. Right? But Krishna is teaching a great method. What method? He says, perform bhakti, that is topmost yoga, and through the bhakti process, my mercy on you will manifest. When my mercy manifests, what happens? All the Trigunya avatars, all the Trigunya gunas, they go away. And you see the yogic process desired by the living entity achieved perfection. So taking shelter of the Lord is beneficial rather than making our own practices to go into the path of deeper and deeper of yoga. That's the key here, right? He gives example of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra wanted to practice his own senses control, wants to become a perfect Raja Rishi. But what happened? Even though he was in great posture and performing deep meditation, Ashtanga yogic meditation, Samadhi state, still when the influence of that lady, Menaka, came, he fell down. He opened his eyes and then he fell for her beauty. And then he went on, he forgot his entire purpose of this Ashtanga yoga process that he was doing. He went behind that lady, had sex enjoyment with her, produced children. And then after many, many years, maybe after 20, 30 years, he realized, oh God, what am I doing? I'm supposed to practice that I'm doing here. How this Maya Shakti deviated me from this. He realized that. He came back again to practice. So Prabhupada says, why do all these things? Just go on practicing your devotion service. And that is perfection of life. Right? Okay. So let's do one last sloka for the day. 10.
One minute, Prabhu.
Yes.
The true ego, you said two things. One is it removes the contamination of intelligence. And what is the other one, Prabhu? What does it do?
See, currently we are thinking, I'm what? I'm a beautiful person. I'm a strong person. I'm intelligent. I am white skin colored. I'm part of this material world based on my position, my education. So we identify ourselves on all these material attributes, right? We don't identify ourselves as, oh, I am a Krishna Sevak. We don't identify around that. If I'm a Krishna Sevak, I'm a servant, I'm not developing servitude qualities, but I'm developing Purusha qualities, controlling, enjoyer qualities. So we should move away from Bhoga mentality to, to Bhakti mentality. So that migration is what the false ego has to go through. Okay? So as far as the false ego is going to go through, it has to migrate from I, myself consciousness to, no, I'm a servitude of Krishna and my responsibility is to serve for his pleasure, and that migration has to happen. Intelligence is about knowledge of Krishna, is what is the best practice of devotion, what should I do, and how do I develop my intelligence by associating with devotees, realize souls, serving them, all these things. So when these two happen, then all other things fall into place. Clear, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. So 6:50. Okay, and we have 10 minutes for Q&A. Do you want to do Q&A or do you want to do one more sloka? What do you want to do? We spoke a lot of things today. Hare Krishna. No one wants to express anything. Okay, we'll do one last sloka. 10.24 today.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, in the previous verse, the pure devotees will become very, systematic in following this thing, rigid devotional service and full control of life and senses. So, is it going to be a natural the tendency of becoming rigid in their devotional service once they keep continuing in the path of devotional service, or in the right from beginning itself they will be like that?
No, so it's like this, ma. So for example, you have a steel rod. Okay. Steel rod, when you heat it, it becomes hot. It becomes hotter. Then it becomes red hot. Then in the red hot scenario, you see that steel rod is no more steel rod, it becomes fire by itself. Okay? You got the point?
Yes.
So similarly, in the initial stages of devotion, we have the stage of anartha nivarti, right? So you again go through the same process, right? Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajana kriya, anartha nivarti, right? Now, after anartha nivarti, you go into nishtha, then asakti, ruchi, then bhava, prema, all those things you go through. But my point is, by practice of devotion service, you see, you're slowly, when your anartha goes, you go into what is called a steady state bhakti. What is steady state bhakti? That your life, everyday routine is predictable. This is what you will do every day. There's nothing else you will do. When you do that, that is steady state devotion service, you will see that you're able to achieve control of your senses and control of your life. When your devotion is up and down, suddenly you will do this, suddenly you will do something else, suddenly you come for class, suddenly don't come for class. All these things are called as fluctuating devotion service. Commitment means commitment. That's it. You cannot have situation-based practices, right? So these are like, if you look at it, several, spiritual seekers, they would take certain slokas of Bhagavad Gita and say, this is favorable, other slokas are not favorable, I leave it, right? So like that, practice of devotion must be steady state. Steady state means, if I'm committed towards something, I'm committed. That's it. I keep going in that path. Unless something else importantly comes and changes this path, but this goes on. There's no excuse. For you to achieve that state, steady state in devotion service, to achieve that state, in the initial stages, you have to show a lot of enthusiasm. Unless there is enthusiasm, you cannot reach steady state. But when will enthusiasm come? Enthusiasm can come. It is influenced by many factors. First one factor is knowledge. Unless you strengthen your subject knowledge, you will not be able to develop enthusiasm. Why? Because you don't know. If it is your sentimental in nature, you may or you may not practice. You may do this or you may not do it. So that is a problem with sentimental aspects. So now we have to have perfect knowledge. So knowledge today in the Veda Shastra, if you look at it, it's so vast. The 4 Vedas will take 14 years for you to understand anything. And secondly, there's no good preachers to even teach you that knowledge. And you go to the market today, there are, I would say, like a Pacific Ocean, there are enough books, enough schools of thoughts, no end to it. So what we are recommending is, given a human being's limited time that we have, it is better to take shelter of one Uttama Bhakta and just keep him as a role model, follow him. We kept Srila Prabhupada as Uttama Bhakta, and whatever he preaches, we just follow him. Whatever his lifestyle, we follow him. And that's it. And perfect our life. Because one is, there's no time. And secondly, where do I select out of this vast amount of knowledge? And third, who's a preacher who's available, who can give me that knowledge? It's very difficult. So, knowledge. So, this is how I strengthen my knowledge. Right? So, when I strengthen my knowledge, enthusiasm flows. So, strengthening of knowledge depends on factors like good association, regular association, and doing menial services to please others. When we do association and service, when Vaishnavas are pleased, they would impart the knowledge onto you. They may not teach you like a Prabhupada, but they may at least tell you, Prabhu, read this book. Prabhu, hear this lecture. Prabhu, this verse means like this. That is also very valuable to us. So we take that, build our knowledge. When knowledge becomes perfect, our enthusiasm automatically increases. When enthusiasm starts increases, you will see your sadhana bhakti becomes fantastic. And that is rigid devotion service. So you have to go through this cycle step by step. You cannot rediscover this cycle by yourself because it's unknown. I was taught by my guru. So I'm trying to teach someone else. And you will teach someone else. So this is the method of descending method of knowledge, not the ascending method of knowledge. Helps, Prabhu, with your answer?
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I have one doubt, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
When Vishwamitra was in penance, he was practicing very in a Nishta position, Prabhu, but he was allured. And at that point, we call him that he is ignorant, or how is it, Prabhu?
See, it is like this. It's a combination of many things. Okay. So, for example, he is ignorant at this point in time because definitely he was not practicing the topmost yoga. Topmost yoga is Bhakti Yoga. He was not practicing that. He was practicing in order to achieve out of his ahankar. Why he wanted to become Rajarishi? Because he wanted to defeat Vashishta. His goal was Vashishta and his goal was not Lord. If the goal was Lord, then he will practice devotion service to the Lord. But his goal was Vashishta just to defeat his ego. So that means one is from a knowledge and intelligence point of view, yeah, it was imperfect. And he was taking a very difficult path. Okay. Second, since his knowledge was imperfect and he did not get awareness of the Lord fully, he was depending on himself to perform the yoga. So the mercy of the Lord did not reach him, and he was using all his strength and energy, and the rules and regulative portions that are spoken in the Vedas in that section, he was depending on them to do it. Now, that is easy for Maya to delude him. So Maya deluded him and he fell down.
So this is what is happening to each one of us also. No?
Each one of us is what is happening. Right? So you see, the same Vishwamitra, when he realized that Bhakti as a platform is topmost, why I was wasting most of the time, he was going through the same three process. What? Vadanti tat tattva vedas tattva jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabde. He understood Bhagavan as the supreme ultimate goal of one's life. He no more fought with Vashishta. He stopped his enmity with Vashishta. He started to meditate on that Lord. When he started to meditate on the Lord Ram gave him the intelligence. And what was the next step? He straightaway walked to Ayodhya to take association of Lord Ram. You see, a beautiful transition that happened for him.
Prabhu, it's 7 o'clock, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay. So, anyway, we will stop here. We'll continue the next class from 24th sloka. Thank you all for your wonderful association. So, we'll see you at 7:15 if you are all interested to attend. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Anantapati Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Vaishnava Thakur Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Om Tat Sat. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Very nice.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Thank
Hare
you for the
Krishna.
wonderful class, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu.
Mataji, Radharani Mataji,
Prabhu. Cheppan, Prabhu.
just send me the link, no? I somehow missed the link.
Nityam Bhagavata Seva.
Yeah.
Zoom ID password పంపిస్తాను Prabhu.
Yeah. Competition.
I'll push.
Hare Krishna.